Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog, which, well, once again, it's going to be a short vlog, I hope, with terrible sound. Same problem as the one I mentioned a few days ago and the day before, that my regular camera is broken. I had to send it out to get fixed. I bought a new camera, but that won't be delivered till Wednesday because I wanted to order just the body, because I already have all these lenses for the one that I sent out to fix. And when it comes back, then I'm going to have two cameras, and hopefully one of them will be working at any particular time. But for now, I'm on the old point and shoot camera, which does not have a jack for an external mic, so that's why the sound is not as good as it usually is. I usually have a lavalier. It goes right here near my mouth and comes out better. I'm in an echoey room, so I'll be as brief as possible. Try to bear with me in the meantime. So today's subject, I'm going to talk about, well, it's about personal responsibility. Don't complain about something that is your own fault. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today specifically, or the people I'm going to talk about specifically today, is the women's soccer team. And by the way, congratulations on your championship. But here is the problem. The problem is that, it's not a problem, it's a circumstance. Some of the women, they're saying that they're underpaid, that they should be paid the same as the men, who apparently are paid more. Now, there's a counter argument to that, but I want to explain the discrepancy and why these women, they should not complain about it. It's really their own fault. And this is a common characteristic of, I would even say, most women. So bear with me, I'll explain what I mean. And what I mean is that, well, I'm just going to read this article here, and then I'll follow up the article with a little bit more detail. But this article pretty much summarizes. So this is a headline, I'll put it up here: breaking contracts have consequences. So that, well, right there tells you where this is going. But let me read a couple quotes here. Okay, he starts out a little sarcastically, the writer. "It brings me great sorrow to report that wealthy women who are paid large sums of money to play a game are unhappy with the pay structure for which their union collectively bargained and to which they themselves voluntarily agreed. The women's salaries and bonuses are not structured the same as the men's team, which receives higher bonuses than the women's team, but does not receive a guaranteed salary." Now, this is one of the first points I want to make that I can speak from experience about, because I'm a real estate broker who gets paid by commissions. The commissions, well, they're not always as large as I wish they could be, but they can be very large when you make a deal. But this is why. It's because the odds of making a deal, you have to go out there and compete with other brokers. There are a million, just trust me, there are a million ways why a seemingly guaranteed deal can just fall through. And then you're left with nothing after all your hard work. Whereas if you have a salary, you show up, you get paid every week, and the boss takes the risk of selling his product or selling his service. If he has no business, or if business is slow one week, he doesn't cut your salary. You get paid anyways. That's the whole point. You're getting a regular salary. You are taking a lot less risk. Of course, there's always the risk that you get fired, or that you quit, or that business is so bad that your employer goes out of business. But the point is, you get a salary, and that salary is lower than you could make if you are on commission, because you're safer. You're getting a guaranteed salary, or a more guaranteed salary every week compared to the person who works on commission. So that's what we have here with the men's soccer team. They get higher bonuses, but they don't get a guaranteed salary. The women on this team, they preferred safety. And that's a characteristic that goes all throughout society. If you buy a bond, bonds are rated. You have the safe bonds like U.S. Treasuries, and then you go all the way down to junk bonds. Junk bonds pay a much higher yield, a much higher interest rate than a U.S. Treasury bill. Why is that? Because the junk bond is riskier. Or you could invest in a corporate bond. A corporate bond is safer than a junk bond, unless it's a junky corporation, I suppose. But that corporate bond is going to pay a lower rate of interest precisely because it's safer and you're taking less risk. And a corporate bond is riskier than a treasury bond, so it's going to pay higher interest than a treasury bond. That's obvious. Everybody knows how that works. And it's the same way with salaries. The more risk you are willing to take, the higher return you can get if the event that you're taking a risk on, or the instrument that you're taking a risk on, or the job you're taking a risk on, if it comes to fruition, because the odds of it coming to fruition are less. These men get bonuses sometimes, but they don't get the guaranteed salary. That's why they get paid more. I'm sorry, ladies, that's the way it goes. And, well, next quote here, because this writer, he sums it up perfectly. And then this is the other point that I want to get to, but he sums it up beautifully. So let me just say what he says, and then I'll embellish it or expand on it a little bit. But even this, meaning the men getting higher bonuses because they don't get a regular salary, even this evades the actual point. If the women's team is unhappy with this arrangement, it is not the fault of the United States, the American flag, Donald Trump, or some distant cabal of sexist white men scheming to stick their thumbs in the face of Megan Rapinoe. She's one of the players on the women's team who seems to be the point person for this demand for a higher salary. It is the fault, here we go to the key part, it is the fault of both the women's union representatives and the women themselves for signing an agreement that they were unhappy with. If they didn't like the terms of the agreement reached by the collective bargaining process, the women's team was well within its right not to sign it. But alas, they did sign it. Doesn't that matter? Yes, that matters. That's really the whole point. That's everything. And this is a phenomenon. This is what I want to talk about now. It's a characteristic of women, for better or worse. You can come up with your reasons, but women are usually willing to work for a lower salary than a man would accept. If women did not do that, then it's very simple. You have McDonald's workers getting paid $20 an hour in South Dakota because that's what they have to pay to get workers. If these women would just not agree to play, then the owners of the soccer team have the choice. Either they can just not have a soccer team that year, or they can pay the women more, and then you bargain. For instance, in public relations, that's overwhelmingly women, and the salary in the public relations industry, as I understand it, I read this article some time ago, is lower than other professions where you have men doing the same, not the same job, but public relations, but paperwork or advertising or something. That's the reason. And as an interesting aside, nobody seems to complain that male models get paid much less than female models. But again, they have the choice too. Don't model. If an employer puts out an ad for a secretary advertising a secretary's job at, say, $25,000 a year and nobody applies, then that employer either has to figure out for himself where all his files are and answer his own phone, or he's going to have to revise the ad and offer a higher salary. That's the way it works. But also keep in mind that most higher level jobs, or well, even some lower level jobs, you submit a resume and you put in the resume the salary that you expect. The employer is not offering a certain salary. You put in your resume or in your cover letter the salary that you're looking for. And the fact is that women, not all women, but many women, maybe most women, tend to ask for a lower salary. So it's their own fault. They need to take responsibility. And they also, well, there are books on it that are specially targeted at women on how to negotiate, how to demand a higher salary, how not to be afraid to ask for a higher salary, how to justify a higher salary. The books are out there. Nobody is against women getting paid what they're worth, but it's up to the women to go out there and demand what they think they are worth. And that's it. That's my rant for today. Thanks for stopping by. As usual, thumbs up if you liked the video. Share it with anybody you think would benefit from it. If you have a comment, you can put it in the comment section below. A suggestion for a future topic could also go in that comment section. If you have a Twitter account, you can tweet the URL out to your followers and invite them or urge them to retweet and, of course, watch the videos themselves. And finally, you can subscribe. If you subscribe, then you will know the instant I put out another video. That's it. I'm going to head out now. Again, as I said at the beginning, sorry about the terrible sound. I'm expecting a new camera to come on Wednesday, so hopefully by Thursday or Friday at the latest, I'll be up and running with a new camera, and then all will be well again. Until that time, well, until next time, I'll be back with another terrible sound video, and until that time, bye.